The session we're going to start now are the patient panels. And this is our first patient panel of the day. This is our adult panel. And what these folks up here are going to do is they're going to tell you their experience living with LHON. All of the folks up here are affected, but they're from different parts of the country, different ages. So we're going to get a lot of different perspectives as to when they were affected, how many years, and so on. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to pass the mic to first is Paul Walker. He has been affected for 52 years, and he is from Columbus, Ohio. So I'm going to pass the mic to Paul, and he can take it from there.
Thanks, Maria. Hello, everybody, and just make a little brief background. I have a little more complicated situation than just Leber's because I had congenital cataracts, and so I was limited vision from my memory. And then when I was about 13, things got a lot worse because I lost total vision in my right eye, which was the better of the two. And subsequently, after losing vision, took about 6-8 weeks from decent to nothing. Subsequently, I had a detached retina in that eye, and after going to multiple doctors and up to the Wills Eye Hospital or whatever, they determined not to do anything with it because I'd already lost my vision. So they didn't even try to reattach the retina at that point because that was a big deal in early 60s. So that was kind of a shock, and but I survived with it and kept moving forward. Went to college, all that good stuff. Got involved in a few political campaigns, did some consulting work, and then got glaucoma when I was about 28. So things keep getting more interesting. And so that was about late 70s, I guess, that I actually got diagnosed with the glaucoma. So did, again, pretty well up until the late 90s and started losing vision again. And I had less, just gradually started to seem to get worse. Finally got a really good neuro-ophthalmologist and was diagnosed that I actually had Leber's 3460, so I'm one of the not quite so common ones. And so it's been a struggle, but you know, you move forward, you do what you can do. When I was in college, unfortunately, didn't have a lot of accessible equipment. The best thing I think we had was a reel-to-reel tape recorder and a couple of great volunteers and American Printing House for the Blind that recorded textbooks. So no CCTV or anything like that even at that point. So I then got employed by the state of Ohio, worked for them for 30 years, a couple of departments, and then finally with the Civil Rights Commission, and was a civil rights investigator for the last 20 years of my 30 years with the state, and got my first guide dog in 2002, which was the second best thing that happened to me after marrying my wife and having two great daughters. But the guide dog was really a big freedom for me because I could feel secure and safe, and I would get around and a lot easier. Camille has a dog from the same school that I got mine from, Guide Dogs for the Blind in San Rafael, California. They have a campus up in Boring, Oregon. And I'd be happy to talk with anybody about that later because it's a significant improvement on your life situation with that dog. Some people it doesn't work for, but the people it can work for, it's an amazing improvement. With the technologies that we have now, though, for accessibility, that's such a big help, and I'm so happy that the kids now and the younger people or the people that are just affected have access to that. With the iOS systems with Apple, that all built into the accessibility and voiceover built into the operating system, it saves you from buying a lot more other expensive equipment after you bought an expensive iPhone. But you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to make it better, basically. So I can go in a lot more detail, but I won't bore you with all of that, and be happy to answer questions as we go along. I do want to point out, though, with the guide dogs that it is, if you're eligible, and eligible means you're legally blind is the first initial thing. You have orientation mobility skills, and then, the dog, you have an interview, determine how well you can work with the dog, and it's no charge. So a lot of people think there's a big charge, a couple thousand, several $1,000s to get a guide dog. There is not. And it's, like I say, it's a very great way to have a friend that's always on your side. And you feel a little bit down, and you got that nice cold nose and a little cuddly. As I've gone to several technology conferences, and I always like to tell people we have the soft cuddly technology. And it's a great organization, and again, I look forward to talking with anybody about that. I'll pass along now, and we can we could ask other questions later.
Yeah, we're going to do question and answers after everyone speaks, so remember what you want to ask. Paul, let me ask you a question. Does your dog, make things a little more social? Do people come up and want to talk about your dog really quick?
Exactly. I was trying to be conscious of time, and I forgot some of the important stuff. Okay. You use a cane, and it's helpful. You use a cane, and I'm sure a lot of you know, if people are around, the waves kind of part, and for the most part, you're kind of ignored. You just feel like you're out there hanging. And with a guide dog, it's like the reverse in most cases. You have people are smiling because you've got this fantastically well-behaved dog. You have an immediate interaction with people if you want it. People usually will come up and ask you, can they be helpful, or whatever. It's just it's an amazing. It's like a switch on and off. I mean, I was between dogs because my first guide dog got sick and couldn't continue. So 4 months between getting my current dog, and even people around my office that I knew, not worked with every day, but people I knew, I was treated totally differently when I had the dog than when I didn't. It was like, pretty much ignored. People in my immediate office were fine, of course, but the other people who I had intermediate interaction with, it was just like a switch. So it can be, for the guys, it can be a babe magnet. It really works, and vice versa for the girls. If you got guys that like dogs, So think about it.
Well, yeah. If you want the chick magnet, you know what to get. Okay, or the guy magnet. Yeah, Paul, no one's ever come up to my cane and said, "Oh, you have such a cute cane." I have a pink cane, so people will say it's different, or they don't know it's a cane. But yeah, my cane is not cute and fuzzy and all. I don't cuddle with my cane.
No,
I just don't.
I have a cane as backup named Oscar, and he doesn't get to travel nearly as much as a guide dog Avanti does. So.
It's true. It's true. All right, so we're going to move on to the next speaker. You can just move the microphone. Our next speaker is Paige Meyer-Peter. And she is from Olympia, Washington, not too far. And she has been affected for 10 years. So go ahead, Paige, and talk about your life living with LHON.
All right, so yeah, I'm Paige. I'm very light sensitive, so I might kind of close my eyes. But yes, I've been affected for 10 years. I have pretty bad vision, like 1400-ish. So they don't really know when it gets that bad. And no color except the color bright blue. So we have a lot of blue in our house. I have an awesome husband that is here, and a more awesome 8-month-old daughter, and she's very talkative, so they're out wandering around, so the noise won't pick up so much. And I was 19 when I was first affected. It went really fast within a few weeks. And I got diagnosed within a couple months, which is, I think, pretty fast. I was at UC Davis, starting my second year of college. And during that time between losing my eyesight and getting diagnosed was a very confusing time. Got tested for all the normal stuff that were described earlier. And I had a lot of questions because I had never met a blind person, of what my life as a visually impaired person could look like. I questioned, am I losing sports? Will I ever be able to have a job? Will anyone want to date me? Was a big question for someone who's 19, and has this big life adjustment. So I wondered if I could be happy with this life, losing so much of the things that were part of my identity, feeling like I was losing so much of the things that were part of my identity. But once I was actually diagnosed, I felt a lot of peace, and I felt like I could then deal with it, and I had some answers. Felt like this unexplainable peace. So I had a lot of support. I had friends, and the disability center at my college was really helpful, and it got me adjusted and started getting me trained in Braille and JAWS and mobility skills. I got a seeing eye dog, which was really awesome. He just retired in August, and he really helped me to be able to do a lot of the things that I enjoyed, like hiking. One of the more significant things that helped me transition was about 6 houses down from where I was living with a bunch of girls in college lived a man named Mike who had been fully blind for 47 years and had done really well with it. He had been a Paralympic skier, which skiing was something I was wondering how I was going to still do. And he was the CEO of his company. And he really poured into me and mentored me and helped me get connected to the technology and advocated. And he sat me down and told me it was going to be okay. So that really made a huge impact to see that he had a family and he had a job and friends and athletic accomplishments, and that was really cool to see that and really helpful and inspiring. My faith was also a big component that helped me to cope with it. So since then, I've been able to see that yes, I could still have a very full life, and I've been really proud with what I've been able to do living with LHON for the past decade. It's definitely turned out a lot better than I initially could have imagined. I've always had work. I worked in several contexts with kids. I work for a tutoring company now, and I've worked at different summer camps and after-school programs, and as a youth pastor. So in lots of different contexts, and I've ran a marathon because I just felt like I needed to do it and show that I could still be doing different sports, because that was a big part of my identity too. And now I'm raising a little girl, and that's been probably the biggest accomplishment yet. And I've been surprised at how little so far my vision has gotten in the way of being able to do that. I can't trim her nails, and I can't drive her around. But other than that, it really hasn't gotten in the way so far yet of being a mom. So that's been really cool and really encouraging. So I hope that this, my story was encouraging for you. Oh, and I think one other thing Maria wanted me to touch on is now I'm starting up a support group in Olympia, Washington for people with vision loss, because there isn't one and it's a need. And so far it's been really slow going, but I'm excited and hopeful for what it could do, because I want to do for others what Mike did for me. All right.
Thank you, Paige. That's awesome, giving back, yeah. That's great. It's a great motivation knowing how much it helped you. And again, for all of us, we know how much others will need it who are first coming into this. And I think that's awesome. And being a mom, trust me, your mother's intuition's going to kick in, girl, and that little girl's not going to get away with anything, blind or not. Trust me, ask my kids. They're like, oh, we can't get away with anything with our mom, And all their friends think that they're super lucky so they can get away with stuff. But Quinn's not going to get away with anything. She won't. Anyway, I'm going to pass it along to Brian. Brian Hulson is from Long Island, and he's been affected for 25 years. So go ahead, Brian.
Hello, my name is Brian Hulson. Yep, affected 25 years. Just want to thank Alyssa and Maria for asking me to speak. It's an honor, and it's humbling. I also have to thank my sister and brother-in-law and my niece and nephew, Harper and Mason, hello, for taking me to Washington last year exposing me to all this. So this year I'm with my mom and my dad, Deirdre and Hank, who are extremely supportive. So yeah, 25 years. I was 20 when I was affected by LHON. It's 11.778, the more common genetic strain. I was in college. I was going to culinary school. I was going to Johnson Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. And for me, it was pretty rapid, and it was in pretty much both eyes at the same time. I didn't really distinguish one from the other. I thought I needed glasses, though. I didn't know anything about LHON. I didn't, although quickly I found out that this does. Obviously, it's carried on through my mother's side of the family, and I have a brother that was also affected by this, although at the time I didn't know that that's why he lost his sight. It might sound confusing, but I won't get into all that now. And then I have a great uncle that was also affected by this, and but I really didn't have any interaction with him. I didn't really even, that all came to light after the fact. So it was only a matter of, I was driving as well. I was driving to a third shift bake class. It was from 11 to 7 in the morning, and I was actually driving other people, picking other people up for class, and I was all of a sudden, one day I was seeing fine, the next day, that's how dramatic this was for me. I was to the point where I'm having so much trouble seeing signs that on the way home, I asked other people to drive the car until I was the last one in the car, and then drove it home. And it was that dramatic for me. It wasn't. And then the following day, I was in New York City seeing an ophthalmologist, and he basically told me what was going on, and he said, there really is there's nothing we can do other than wait, and this whole the progression or digression of the disease is about a 6-month period, so we'll bring you back in about 6 months, and we'll see or not see what you see, and that was it. And I went back to school and finished off the class that I was in, and then took a little hiatus. I think it was a semester. It's a trimester school, so it took off I think a semester or so. And at the time I was living on Long Island with my parents, and the place to go was the Lighthouse in New York City, and so I was taking the Long Island, and actually I had quickly got a mobility instructor in order to now take Long Island Railroad and then take about 3 different subways to get to 56 in Lexington, where the Lighthouse was, and so I had a mobility instructor that showed me how to do that. And funny, last year, a guy, Matthew, that was speaking, was talking about the movie Scent of a Woman and how he liked that movie before anything ever happened to him. And my mobility instructor was the guy that actually showed Al Pacino how to act like a blind man in the movie. He was literally the expert, I guess, on the movie set. I was handed a cane, and I did not like that. I used it apprehensively for a little while, and just, as a 20-year-old, going on 21-year-old guy, I think as all people, I didn't want to look like there was something wrong with me. And so more than anything, I tried to figure out how am I going to get around and not look like I have a visual impairment, you know. And the doctor earlier was talking about the psychological aspects of all this, which I think are, I mean, the sight issue is you either have it or you don't. You know, it's how we deal with all this, and yeah, all the feelings that are involved. You know, you know, I think this is awesome because we, you know, we get to share all of our successes and failures and how we handle this from point of being affected or diagnosed with this, and then so on, you know. And you know, I think Paige has handled it incredibly. And you know, I went right back to school, and then Dr. Sadoun was speaking about the tire fire with those people. And, you know, I was someone. You know, there's parts of my story that I'm not particularly proud of, but you know, I basically had quite a bit of a tire fire going on myself, so to speak. So whether that influenced my, you know, this being my LHON being kicked on or not, who's to say? Who's to know? Because you know, this is where we're at. You know, you know, but I think that, and there was no knowledge at that time, really, that, or at least that was, I didn't even know this existed for me. So there was no knowledge about that. So I don't know if I was informed of all that stuff, whether that would have influenced me one way or the other. You know, and then the coping with it afterwards, I think I threw a few more tires on the fire. You know, and I stayed in school though. That was my kind of my safe haven. And you know, I got my culinary degree. I stayed in school. I got a bachelorship in entrepreneur, and then I got a teaching master's certificate, and then I was presented an opportunity to run a business, and I took that instead of going like the teaching route. You know, it took me many years and a lot of pitfalls and a lot of you know, a lot of trial and error and a lot of ups and downs. This road certainly is not linear. You know, and the Jeremy was speaking about the 5 steps of going through this, of grieving, and then finally acceptance. And I believe that's true, but I also believe that we might do that many times. You know, we might revisit that whole thing and then deal with, and then go through the process, but at a different level. And you know, I've had to, for me at least, that's certainly been the case. You know, I've taken all the tires off of the fire, and you know, even when I had tires on the fire, I was very active and into weightlifting and things like that. And but now I certainly I'm very conscious of my diet, and you know, I'm going back to school again to hopefully get a master's in counseling for alcohol and drug addiction, and I am, you know, I got to say that this happened to my brother, as I said, and he's also mentally challenged and epileptic, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take a breath.
For me, he should be sitting here, because he's my inspiration. But he, you know, cognitively can't. And right now I'm having trouble doing it. But he can't present this. You know, he can't tell his own story. And but you know, I mean, this guy's got more challenges than, you know, I couldn't do it. And so, you know, we all have to look at, you know, someone else. When I'm on my pity pot for me, like I have a great faith myself, and when I'm on the pity pot, for me, my God puts a guy in a wheelchair in front of me, and then I'm like, shut up, because I can run. You know, I can run. You know, I might run into a wall or a car, but I can run. You know, so I just, you know, if I'm getting that way, somehow I become grateful, and you know.
Brian,
Thank
you.
you.
I love your story, and give him a round of applause for him. And you know, your brother would be really proud of you. Absolutely be so proud of you. And thank you for sharing lots of great points about the journey, for sure. I'm going to move over to our next speaker, who is from Hollywood, California. I don't know if she's a movie star or not, but maybe she can tell you. Her name is Lita O'Donnell, and she's been affected for almost 6 years, about 5-6 years. So Lita, go ahead and take it.
A little closer to 7, but that's okay. I was flattered when I got Maria's call. We had a good talk. And in the end, just so you know where I was feeling, she said to me essentially, please tell us about yourself. And after you became affected with this life-altering mutation that seeps into every aspect of your everyday life, you'll have about 8 minutes. Oh, by the way, we might tape it for the interwebs, so you know, good luck with that. After I caught my breath, pushed down what you will probably hear is my natural fear of public speaking, I realized I wanted to touch on 3 things, you know, the important stuff: high heels, baby cage matches, and tweezers. Upfront disclaimer, like most of our bios, there's an unsung hero in my life, my mom, without whose love and support I may not even have discovered why I was losing my vision, or be able to take advantage of what help there is out there for us LHONers. That's how I pronounce it. I only read it, and I don't hear it, so I always call it LHON, so forgive me. That being said, she has also given me some of the more memorable reaction comments that you get from this mutation. People find out you're legally blind, and these words, they're obviously not thoughts, but these words come out. There's the baffling, you don't look blind. And then, of course, and this is a little more PG-13, there's the more mocking, oh, well, how many fingers am I holding up? And I'll say, I don't know, is it more than this many? And for my fellow LHONers, that would be my middle salute. And then, of course, there was the very specific, very geek empathetic, but how are you going to watch Avatar in 3D? And you get kind of baffled by these questions. But my mom, has everyone beat in these comments and questions. For instance, while on the prednisone regime for 6 weeks, 500 milligrams, because why not? It might be autoimmune. My mother recalled the horror of an acquaintance gaining this significant amount of weight. And she said, well, which would you rather be, fat or blind? And I got to be both for a while. Or when I was visiting Illinois, where I'm originally from California, my first non-travel day, I get up, I put on the eyebrows, the lip gloss, and my mom says, oh, good, you can still wear makeup. But it all comes from love, all of these comments, because she knows we get judged like that by our outward appearance. Do we cane or not to cane? Do you whip out the magnifier, or do you trust what the waiter told you is on the menu? You know, you have to make these judgment calls. My mom, with whom I've shared a shoe size since the age of 12, so we naturally share shoes, asked with all due sincerity, can you still wear high heels? And, well, no, not really, not the same way, and I learned that out the hard way. with a pair of fabulous black, sparkly stiletto platform shoes and a bit of uneven pavement and a pair of ruined pantyhose when said knees hit uneven pavement. So, you know, you make adjustments. One comment that stuck, I say the comments that you aren't meant to hear, those are the ones that are really honest and that you kind of really take to heart. It was early on, I was out with my husband and my brother, Hollywood drinking, that's as close to hip fame stuff you'll get from me, and I overheard my brother saying to my husband, "She's not looking me in the eyes. She's just not there." And so, you know, these eyes that, oh, they're pretty. How can they be blind? I've trained them, particularly in distance of, okay, go a third down in the way of the face. And I've trained, get out the magnifying mirror when you're gonna do the eyebrows. But I spend a lot of time making adjustments, and a lot of them are for the comfort of other people that we're interacting with. But you have to be careful. I came across as so fully sighted to one genetic counselor who ostensibly was meeting to help me. And she started making fine line drawings to illustrate a point. Well, she kind of lost the point. Because I wasn't, you know, at this point I was needing a Sharpie and all of these adjustments. And I got quietly frustrated. But in the long run, I missed an opportunity. I had the chance to say, "Hey, doc, I can't see this. Let's reschedule when you know what the effects of LHON are, or find me another doctor who knows what I'm going through." And I'd like to think that today, I would not just have politely smiled and left. I'm hoping that each of us speaks up for ourselves and our fellow visually impaired. Our mutation is rare. I mean, I've got one of the more regular mutations, the 11 whatevers, but we need to advocate and we need to educate, and that need is not rare. That need is universal. So on to the reason why I was seeing a genetic counselor. When you spend a year, and it was at least a year, learning your veins need the butterfly needle, and this is what it sounds like in an MRI tube with the ka-chunk, 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 and realizing you've memorized the top 2 lines on the standard eye chart, well, you tend not to react when your sporadic reproductive system isn't running like a Swiss watch. Now, Michael, my husband since 2002, and my partner since 1997, and I had been trying to make people, if you know what I mean, since about 2005. But extreme rapid eye loss has a way of distracting a girl. And it turns out into 2010, and by the time we get to the OBGYN, I've basically missed most of my first trimester. And if you look back, the same month that I got the call from the KCI Institute, finally naming this baffling cause of my world going sideways, that was the same month that my body said, "Oh, that whole eyesight thing, yeah, that's not gonna work out. Not anymore. But hey, you know that kid you've been wanting forever? How about we trade you?" And it's a trade I would make again. It's not optimal, but I got the better end of the deal. And if you've met my daughter, you'll see what I mean. Which, of course, brings us naturally to baby cage matches. My diagnostic year, it was lucky in a way, but nerve-wracking. Michael wasn't working. He was able to drive me to appointments and do tons of internet research, but you know, once a baby enters the picture, parent beast mode kicks in, and I'm sure you're feeling that or have felt that. He works in the animation industry, and an opportunity opening up in Florida. But we have a cute little rent-achievable apartment in Hollywood, California. So he drives 3,000 miles across the country, and I stay with the almost 4-month-old. Now, babies can find boobs, and your nose can tell you where to wipe. But what I wasn't prepared for was baby fingernails. So I think it's great that you mentioned that. For some reason, and you've probably forgotten this, when we are infants, we have fingernails so sharp, it's as if we've evolved to be born, have our first few hours documented on Facebook, and then be dropped into like a pit of mini velociraptors. I have no idea why baby fingernails are the human equivalent of switchblades. The rest of a baby is tissue thin. There's literally a soft spot on their head where the bones haven't finished forming the skull. So you cannot let the Ginsu knives disguised as fingernails grow too long. My LHON mom badge was earned when I had the tiny Red Cross nail scissors in one hand and the Pebble magnifier in the other, and the room was as bright as I could make it, and the magnifiers and the goofy double lens glasses were on hand, and I got it done. It wasn't quick, but I trimmed those blades of destruction. And she never scratched herself. Me, that was a different story. When parent beast mode kicks in, you just find a way to do something that normally you'd be like, here's my laundry list of excuses of why I can't. My daughter is 5 now. 5.5, over 5.5. And I've tried to be as open as I can about my challenges. But she sees it every time we board the bus, instead of getting into my cute little RAV4. And she sees it when I'm washing dishes, and it's her job to put them away. And Dad has to say, bring this back. There's still a little more gunk on this whisk, or this spoon didn't quite make it. I don't want her to be my seeing eye person. I want her to be my partner, and to be honest with what I can do, and just as important, I think, as what I cannot do, which brings me to the tweezers and the tears bit. I know many of you, if not most, have been 5 years old. When you are 5, you run around and you fall and you get scrapes and sometimes splinters. But remember when you were fully sighted? Splinters are hard to see no matter how sighted you are. That's their thing. Be super tiny and annoying and possibly infectious. And who's going to leave a tiny bit of tree in themselves, let alone their one and only child? So the other day, she was being a kid, that's it, nothing out of bounds, nothing remarkable, just running out. And there was a possible splinter situation. Michael's not home. I got out the magnifier and the tweezers, and I prepared to handle it. But I hadn't factored in the 5-year-old reaction to tweezers, because the very existence of tweezers near your being when you are 5 is enough to wig you out to the point where you're twisting and writhing about, and while mom is trying to find and remove a possible theoretical splinter. And that cracked my egg. I had to move through this moment of her being scared to have tweezers remove a splinter, and me being scared that I can feel it better than I can see it. And I admit, frustration tears filled my eyes, and she saw that. And I included her in my frustration. And tried to explain. I explained what I was trying to do to help her and why I needed her to work with me. It was a bonding moment. I won't soon forget it. And just so you know, it was a bit of dark red mud, but the point still stands, and she brings it up every once in a while. So I want to remind everybody to tell your loved ones the truth, that this is what I can do today. This is what I can't do today. It might be better tomorrow. It might be worse. And then live your life, splinters and fabulous unworn heels and all. and don't put babies in a cage match.
Thank you, Lita. I love how you're describing how you handle a very active 5.5-year-old, because some of these moms out here who are affected and have children, they need that kind of advice. So thank you so much for sharing those funny experiences. That was great. I'm not sure how much time we have left, but was hoping we'd have a few minutes for some questions for any of our panelists.
We do. We can take some time. We've got 5, 10, 15 minutes, as much as we need. So go right
Great.
ahead.
Okay. So I'm not going to call on you because I can't see you out there. So I know there's eyes with people running around with microphones. And if you'd like to address everyone on the panel, then go ahead. Or it could be for just any in particular person here too. Or me, because I'll probably jump in anyway. Anyway, go ahead. So anybody.
We answered it all.
Seriously? Like, not even how much can you really see? Because we get that asked all the time. Oh yeah, Paul has a great response for that. So I'm gonna, because we get asked that question. So this is the best. Okay, here's your microphone.
I have a friend and happens to be Southern California, met him through guide dogs, and it's always the question, even sometimes family members, friends, people at work, where any place you meet people, how much can you see? What can you see now? All this stuff. And his response, and I thought was the greatest thing ever, and I got to get this straight because it gets confusing if you don't get it, but it's, I can see more than you think I can see and less than I think I can see. And I thought that was great. It gives you something to think about, and it gives the person something to think about. One other thing about talking about activities, Paige was talking about her sports and other activities. One of the people that Guide Dogs has trained is his name's Trevor. I think it's Thomas. I'm not sure of his last name. It escapes me. Had a sudden blindness the last few years, and he was an avid sports person and hiker. And he was devastated because he didn't think he was going to be able to do anything anymore. And it wasn't Leber's, it was some other neuropathy type thing. But he went to various guide dog schools and said, I want to be able to hike. Can you train a dog to hike with me, to help lead? And almost everybody said no, except he checked with Guide Dogs for the Blind, and they said, let's work on it. So bottom line is, he got a dog that was they specially worked with and trained, and they do this as needed, that he can go hiking and his hike with the dog by himself all over the United States, so the Appalachian Trail, the trails out here on the Pacific Coast. And I mean, he goes for a couple, 3 weeks at a time with some electronics, GPS, all that kind of stuff, but he's by himself with his dog. The dog's name's Tennille, and he has a special harness that they put together for him so the dog can be in front, and it was different than a regular walking harness. And he and Tennille have done, I don't know, just hours and hours and months of travel, and he works out fantastically. He's got a web page, and I'll try to share that with on the Facebook so other people can check him out. Also, they've recently started training the dogs to, if you like to run and you're afraid of running by yourself or just can't do it because the things are that level, they're also now working with special harness and whatever to be able to run with your guide dog. So couple extra things I forgot to mention.
I have a question for all the people on the panel. What do you do as a profession? How did you get there, and how do you like it?
Okay. Anyone want to just start with that?
Well, I was an investigator for civil rights issues for the Civil Rights Commission in Ohio for, like I said, the last 20 years of my employment. And how I got there, I majored in political science and sociology, did some work on political campaigns, and tried to find something to do that I was really interested in and could make a difference, and just got very lucky and happened to meet the executive director of the agency. I'd actually had my own business. I was selling satellite television systems, and installed one for this guy. And at that point, I had 2 young daughters, and with my eye condition as it was, my insurance was outrageous. And the business was kind of going slow. It was gradually improving, but I wasn't making enough money to pay the $6,000 a year in 1990 for health insurance. So I asked this guy, I said, do you ever have any openings? I'd be interested, because I had all this previous work and whatever. So about 3 weeks later, I get a call. He says, come in for an interview, and I got hired. And at that point, we started having some accessibility tools like Zoom text and laptop and all that. And I progressed in that for the next 20 years, enjoyed it a lot, and was pretty successful. I was had the most, one of the most closing positive result of cases for the regional office. So I was pretty happy about that. A lot of mediations and settlements. So it was interesting.
Good. Lita, do you still have the microphone? I'll take that.
I do.
Okay, why don't you start with that? You go ahead.
Well, prior to being diagnosed, I worked various jobs within Hollywood production, unit production manager for a series of animated commercials, and various others. The thing with animation is you need to know color tone, so that wasn't really an opportunity for me anymore. And then I was sort of diagnosed and prepped for this human coming into your life. So I have been focused on being mom. Now I just got elected secretary of her PTA at her school, so I'm essentially becoming the 1950s version of myself. But I'm looking forward to when she's a little bit more independent and getting back into more of the writing and creative side of all the lovely stuff out of Hollywood.
Great. Brian, really quick.
Yeah. When I was diagnosed, I was in school full time doing catering and things like that, and then went right into having a business, running a cafeteria, and working with women from the work release program from prison, and then it's my employment has waxed and waned over the years from working with community food rescues and soup kitchens, and now I'm moving in another direction. So.
After college, I got my teaching credential, and I've been working in educating kids in different contexts, never as a classroom teacher since then, but I work for a tutoring company, and I mostly work with algebra.
Well, I'm up here, so I'm going to chime in. So, shock. I am a group fitness instructor, and I still teach group fitness classes 4 times a week. I also had an epiphany a couple weeks ago where I was downplaying everything I was doing on Facebook, my blog, Twitter, and all of that, and I just, that was fun stuff. But it occurred to me that, no, this is now my job. This is now my job to be an advocate for the LHON community, to put out their support via my blog, Twitter, Facebook. It has become a job to the point where it has led me in a couple great different opportunities as a co-host for a podcast. I host the LHON live phone call along with Jessica and Andy. And I also I do a small fitness segment out of the UK for the RNIB, Focus on Fitness, and it's a 10-minute segment I do that descriptively describes exercise and workouts for folks to be able to do in their home with little to no equipment, streamed through the RNIB website. So that's been super exciting. So, I've kind of gone a different path, and I'm making the most of it. So I turned into what was Facebook fun. No, it's my job. So that's what I do. Any other questions?
Yes, no, I have a quick question for the panel. This is actually a question about our son. We have a son that is 21, and he believes quite strongly that in order to integrate himself fully into the regular or sighted community and the regular world, he really doesn't need to or shouldn't really be part of the LHON community or blind LHON community, because he feels otherwise he takes his focus away from being part of the regular world. As I said, he's 21, still a long way to go, lots to learn and so on. However, I don't feel that way. I often try to encourage him to correspond, communicate with others and so on that are sharing some of his challenges. And I'm hoping that he's not here today, but I'm hoping he'll be able to listen to the video and listen to your answers. So I'm interested in any of your thoughts on this.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I would keep encouraging him, of course, to participate and get involved to the point at least understand what's going on. But he's still in the denial stage. At that age, it's hard. It was like the late 90s, as my vision continued to get worse after the glaucoma and whatever, that I'd faked it, pretty well faked it up until that point. And I knew I had a vision problem, but I never considered myself a blind person, even though I was. And it takes time and it takes acceptance. And there's fear there. Well, like if I do that, if I acknowledge it, I'm not the same again. Well, but you are. It's a mental block, but once you get past it, believe me, you feel a whole lot better. And it'll take them some time. Some people are a lot quicker than others, and others go on for a long time. But just keep encouraging them.
Does anyone else on the panel have any advice?
Yeah, I think for a while it just felt confusing because I didn't fit in the sighted world anymore, and I didn't feel like I really fit in the blind world either. And with most of us with this disease, we're kind of in the middle. And I think that it's kind of what you said. It sounds like he says, I don't have room in my life for the blind community, but I think it's just super enriching to have people in your life that you can relate to, as well as friends who have all different sorts of situations. I think that it'll really enrich his life if he can meet some people, not just in the LHON community, but in the blind community.
Yeah, absolutely. I was diagnosed right around the same age that what's your son's name? Albert. Well, Albert, don't do what I did. Seriously, you can lessen your pain greatly. But the other thing is, I completely understand how he's feeling. And I'd be more than happy to give you my number, and he could call me personally, and because it's like Paul said, I think there's, which I had too, like a lot of almost a denial, like I'm just, because my focus was, I'm not going to look like this, and I'm going to do everything in my capability to, like, I would make it look like I'm looking you dead in the eyes, because I can like you,
Yeah.
exactly all that stuff. I just want to look like, look at, I'm going to be 21, and now it's like, I got an ego bigger than, an ego. So I don't want to look like I have a problem. So I get what your son's going through, and that's the point. That's the point of all this, that we get it. And so when you put people that get it together, then you have a common bond. And so call me, Albert.
So, Lita, really quickly, because I don't want to disclose you, just super quick.
I'm just saying, yes, there's a sense of understanding, and that it is tricky, especially early on, because it's not binary. It's not, all your sight's gone, and it's not, oh, but you're perfectly sighted. So there is that transitional time when you feel like you're in the in-between world of like, I'm not walking into walls yet. But yes, it helped me immensely talking to people who, had the wide spectrum of visual impairments or were just completely blind. And so I hope, even if if Albert's not ready to hear it now, keep tabs, keep bookmarks, keep, the YouTube channel open. Eventually, he will want to hear people who get it, and it makes all the difference.
Yes, agreed. That's what this is all about, connecting others with others. And when he's ready, he'll connect, or he can even be in the background. But as long as he's in the background, he's still in the room. So, you know, keeping people connected. Like these folks, nobody knew each other. But you know what? They're going to be friends now, from now on, really good friends. And I really appreciate all of you being on the panel. Every one of you is inspiring, has a great story, and is making it. Moms, doing a support, going back to school, and Paul rocking that guide dog. He's the biggest guide dog advocate I have talked to. So I want to thank you all. One quick note Paul wanted me to say is, we may have LHON, but there's nothing wrong with our eyeballs, and most of us. So keep on top of your eye health, because the last thing you want is another condition to take more vision away over on top of LHON, which is very important because a lot of people think, well, I have LHON, what's the use? And there's good stuff coming. That's what he said. That's what he said. So anyway, thank you. And I think we're going to be heading for a group photo.